welcome to the JYB Show. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Jack Youngblood, and I have a special guest, CousinFloyd. Tell
What's
us
up?
where you're from.
I am from Barrie, Ontario, but I actually grew up in Muskoka. I was born and raised in Muskoka. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I was born in Huntsville, and that's all I got to say about that.
So going to start off with this question. Why did you become a musician?
It was like the only thing that I could really find that like gave me like an escape, you know? It was like music was like the one thing that just kind of was always sort of there. Like I played sports growing up as a kid. I played hockey and lacrosse, and then it was one of those like I found like music along the way, and then it all kind of started to flesh out from there, and everything just sort of started to happen. But like with like the just with like discovering music and stuff, it just I don't know. It just kind of it just called me, you know what I mean? Like the only time every time I picked up a music, or every time, I can't even talk. Every time I picked up an instrument, I like just found myself getting lost in it in a way that I just couldn't explain, you know? And like every other time that I was like hanging out or like playing, lacrosse or hockey, I just didn't find that same sort of like, you know, I don't even know what it's called, but that's that little bit of something that just makes you want to kind of go forward with it, you know? And just music was that one thing that just constantly made me drive forward.
Where did the name CousinFloyd come from?
The name CousinFloyd came from my cousin Josh Porter and my cousin Mike. And then it got like pushed into like perspective even more with Aston Clark. So like there was a day we were hanging out. I was at my cousin Josh's in Aurelia, and it wasn't even just the one time. It was just like numerous times I'd go over to their place, and like my cousin Mike and Josh would be standing there hanging out, and I'd show up, and I'd just be like, "What's up, you Sex Panther?" And then they'd just be like, "CousinFloyd," and I'd be like, "Who the hell's CousinFloyd?" I never knew who Floyd was. Like I never knew who the person was. I always thought it was like a Pink Floyd reference or something like that. And then then it started just kind of happening. I just started getting called Floyd all the time. And then one day I was at the studio with Aston and my cousin Josh, and he was recording Porter, and Porter kept sitting there like at the mic, and he'd turn around, he'd be like, "Yo, Floyd." He's like, "How do you think that sounds?" And then like Aston kept being like, "Who the hell's Floyd?" You know what I mean? Like, who's Floyd? And then he'd turn around, and he's like, "Floyd, CousinFloyd." And he's like, "Holy shit, that needs to be your producer tag." And then that was kind of like the birth of it all, you know what I mean? And like, because I was making beats at the time, and I wasn't really like doing a lot of like solo music or anything. I was just making beats for people, and and that's kind of how that started.
So what was your biggest influence growing up?
My biggest influence, like in like music or
Music
just, like,
in general.
in general?
Yeah.
Honestly, like my biggest influence growing up was actually being like an impersonator. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I had like a huge thing for like impersonating like Austin Powers and like Mike Myers stuff and like Dr. Evil and anything from Austin Powers. I was pretty much all over. Like when I was a kid, my mom used to like put me on the spot in front of people at like like family events or whatnot, and I'd just be like all nervous as shit when we first get going. I'd just be like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that," And then people would start putting like toonies down on the ground and stuff, and I'm just like looking at money like get put down on the ground, and I'm like, "Well, what's this now?" I'm like, "What's going on here?" I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "Okay," and then it kind of started to become like a sort of thing, and I got really like inspired off of like the comedy side of things. I guess you could say I was a bit of a class clown growing up and stuff, but not necessarily as like class clowny as you'd want it to be. I guess I just thought I was funny in my own little world, but I didn't give a shit.
Give us a taste of your...
Oh my God. I couldn't even begin to do it right now. Like I haven't done it in so long. Like I can do it maybe when I'm like super drunk, out of pure just hilarity. Yeah.
Sure. If you could go on a tour with anyone enrolled, who would it be?
Oh man, if I could go on a tour with anybody in the world, Oh, Jesus. I think like Post Malone would be a really cool person to go on tour with, just because he just seems like a really cool like musician. You know what I mean? Like, and he seems like somebody who really like appreciates music, or Arden Jones. That guy would be awesome to go on tour with, just because like the ukulele style is just something I'm huge into, and I play the ukulele myself a lot. So it's just funny. I've never actually gone forward and done any like ukulele style songs. Like I have a couple like recorded that are unreleased and stuff, but it's just not anything I've ever really been like, yeah, I'm gonna release these. Everybody's gonna love them.
You should definitely release one.
Yeah, I should. I have one that I wrote about my girlfriend that I think people would really like. But when you play a ukulele, you usually write like cheesy songs anyways, unless you're pissed off at your ex.
That's true. So what was the first instrument you played?
The very first instrument I ever played would be like between like an acoustic guitar and a saxophone. My grandmother, rest her soul, she got me my very first acoustic guitar, and I remember it was like downstairs. And I think like my cousin ended up like knocking it over. It was like against the wall, and it like just fell and snapped, and all kind of went that way. And then I got into like elementary school, and we were able to do like I think music in like grade 6 or something like that. So at like grade 6, I think I started playing. That's when I started playing the saxophone, and like I that was pretty much the moment, you know what I mean, where the music kind of grabbed onto me. I was still playing hockey and lacrosse and stuff, but like the music was calling me big time there. And like my music teacher, his name was Mr. Jakes. He was pretty much like one of the big reasons why I like became like a musician, because he always pushed me and like, told my parents like, let this kid play music, like, you know what I mean, don't let him stop, sort of deal. And it was kind of neat, because it's like now every time I look back at like, where everything kind of started, I look back at like, what he told me and like the things he taught me, and I'm just like, man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, saxophone was pretty much the birth of everything, and then it brought me into like jazz, and and then I was already listening to like punk rock and stuff because of like my family, and and just had like the rise of like old classic hair metal and shit like that, good old Motley Crue and stuff. So it was a cool upbringing of music and everything, but to play saxophone and then like switch over into drums was a really cool transition, because it just kind of opened me up so much more. Yeah, it was fun.
So your mom was a big influence growing up too?
Oh yeah, my mom was a huge influence for me, man. Like my mom's always said like it's always been me and her kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like in a way that's like not like rude, like, or like neglecting anybody else, but it's just like, like my father dipped out when I was really young, and so it was kind of always like me and my mom from like that moment forward, like no matter what it is that we did, or like no matter what it is that we were, what we were doing or where we were going, no matter like, who we were seeing in family and stuff, it was always me and my mom, you know what I mean? Like it was just like, and it was like if we were meeting a new family, it was me and my mom meeting the new family, you know what I mean? So like my mom taught me like a lot in terms of like how to appreciate like sort of life and just the people in it, and how to respect people, and just how to just really how to be a lover instead of a fighter. Unfortunately, some fights do happen in life, but so that's how it goes. But realistically, man, like my mom shaped kind of the man that I am today, because she taught me like like just the things that what it is to like appreciate the value of like kind of living, and just like appreciate what you have when you have it, and and don't really kind of take things for granted, and people for granted for that matter, because I find that like the more that you become assholes, or the more that you push people out of your life, and I'm a veteran of doing that, like I've pushed a lot of people out of my life just because I couldn't handle doing what I was doing anymore, or being the person that I was. And, I found that with just kind of like letting go of all that negative energy was one of the biggest things that my mom taught me, was just kind of like how to be that person, you know what I mean? And like I could harbor so much anger and so much resentment and stuff like that, but I couldn't really like change anything from that, so
So if could open for anyone for one night, who would it be?
Oh man, if I could open for anybody,
For one night, yeah.
I would say if I could open for anybody for one night, man, I'd love to open for Sueco. Like his shows seem so high energy and so fun. Like that would just be such a good time, you know.
Yeah.
And like that's pretty much what I would be trying to do. Yeah.
You guys have similar music taste, so yeah.
Yeah, it's like a couple of people have told me that, you know, and I was like, yeah, it'd be fun to do a track with him, but like he's exploding right now, so it'd be impossible to do anything like that.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, you never know, man. It'd be really cool. It'd be really cool. I like, you know, I just kind of do my thing, you know. I don't really try to focus too much on like, oh man, I need this person to hear me, you know, because it's like the world's so big and there's so many people out there, and it's like almost impossible to even try and accomplish something like that. Hello, beautiful.
So your latest song is called Coma
Yeah.
and has 5,814 plays on Spotify.
Jesus, that's crazy.
What was your inspiration for that song?
Oh man, the inspiration for that song honestly was like it was kind of just like it's sort of like referencing like what it is to be with somebody who's like who's actually like the toxic person, and you know like they're the toxic person but they're saying that like you're the bad habit, you know what I mean? But it's like, you know, that person could be just like they could be just high off their ass or drunk, you know, as hell, and they're always like blaming you for shit, you know, and you're never really like, you're always like, what's going on, you know, like you're always so mad, you know, like why, you know, why are you pissed off all the time? Why can't you just be happy and enjoy things, you know? And like, yeah, that's kind of what that was, and it was like realistically, it's sort of referencing like past relationships and stuff like that, and it's kind of just like the idea of like coma therapy is like, you know, it's like the entire time that you're in that like relationship, it's almost like you're sort of like you're in a coma, you know what I mean? Like you're not even like there. You're just sort of on like this autopilot where it's like you are dead and you're sleeping in bed, you know, and you're just waiting to wake up and kind of come to reality and stuff, you know? But like with any case, I think that like that's like the big thing with that song is that it's sort of referencing those bad habits that we all sort of keep and collect from, you know, negative bullshit from people that we had in our lives that we thought were going to be in our lives forever. Yeah.
That's true. What is your writing process?
Oh man, I have such a weird writing process. Like, oh, man, it's like, it's, I would say like my writing process is, super confusing, super depressing, super progressive, and super delaying. Yeah, because like I will sit and write a song and then I will not record it because I am just unsure of like the lyrics and stuff like that I've got like in the song, you know? So it's like I'll be going through like all the, you know, the rhyme schemes, or like not even the rhyme schemes, maybe just like the flow, you know, and like trying to figure out like, oh, I could say this like this, or oh, I could, you know, rhyme this like this. But it's like for me, I always like second guess myself, and I really like doubt myself, and I beat myself up like nobody's business, just because I don't know. I'm not the most confident person, you know, and like I used to be really, really confident, and then it's like I don't know what happened. I think like COVID really fucked me up for sure. But you know, just like in terms of like when I come down to like writing stuff, like, you know, Coma was one of those songs where I was like confident. You know, I was felt good about what I was writing, and I felt good about how I recorded it and everything else. Pardon me, but with like a lot of like the writing processes, it's like I find so many times, like say I'll be like in my car and I'll just be like humming along and I'll come up with a really cool like line or something, and I'll be like, oh sick, I'm gonna write that down, you know, and then I write it down and then I kind of forget how the melody or something went to it, you know, And then I come back to my house and I start recording some more stuff and putting it all together there. And I have this weird ass experience of like, well, is this really how I'm feeling right now? You know what I mean? And then I start writing sad shit because I'm like starting to think about, stuff that makes me sad and stuff like that. And then I'm just like, what am I doing? So I've kind of gotten into this like method lately of writing these sort of like, I call them happy fuck you songs. You know what I mean? Because it's like they sound sort of happy, but the lyrics are also still kind of depressing, but they're also telling you to kind of screw off, And it's just, yeah, I think like my writing process is just a really weird spider web of emotions. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it.
So you played in a bunch of bands in your lifetime.
Yeah.
What was the first band you played in?
The first band that I played in, I played in a bunch of bands in like high school and stuff like that, but I mean like I would say like the first like band that like really started to do anything was Sons of Sirens. That was like the band that like set the tone for a lot of stuff in my life. Yeah, I was living in Muskoka and they were looking for a drummer and I tried out and I got in. And yeah, after that I moved to Barrie and then that became kind of the rest of my life, After that I played in a band called A Particle Apart. I was doing vocals in that band. And then I started doing vocals in a band called Rosewood Annie. And that went well for a good little while. And then, things just kind of changed and, life got in the way with stuff. And now I'm playing in a band called North Park. It's a lot of fun. I'm super stoked on it. It's got a lot of good members in it, a lot of good material. We're working on our album right now. So I'm super hyped to get that done, and yeah, it's just a good project, I have another project too that I'm working with. There's like two guys that are out in Manitoba. It's called New Demons. That's a fun project as well. It's it's a little heavier than like the North Park, but it's kind of more like an internet sort of band kind of vibe right now. Like we played one show, but it's more like they'll record stuff, send it over, and we'll try and record it and send it back, and so on and so forth. So there's not like a whole lot of like band practice like elements, you know what I mean? Where they're like with North Park, it's like we're always kind of jamming and practicing and doing stuff. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Stay tuned for that coming up with North Park in the near future.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a little break, but before we do, for Patreon, I'm going to shout out my sponsor.
Yeah.
Panda and Chloe Gifts.
Panda and Chloe.
Yeah, you can go check them out on Instagram at Panda and Chloe Gifts. They are a pet clothing and jewelry line from Keswick, Ontario. They are local, basically, in Ontario. And yeah, if you want custom clothing for a pet,
that's so cool.
They can make it. Hit up Panda and Chloe Gifts. And also, you can hit up the owner on Facebook. Her name's Tara Davidson. They will be in the description down below. And do you have anyone you want to show?
Oh man, I'll shout out my boy Bo from Deathbed. Yeah, Deathbed. Wearing some of that right now, actually. Yeah, with some more stuff. Satan is here. Yes, I am. Deathbed, Weirdos, LonelyBoyz. Gotta shout the boys out. Yeah, I'm just there's a lot going on. Sleep Terror Clothing. I really want to shout them out. Yeah, there was one other person that I probably would have shouted out, but fuck that.
You underestimate. You underestimate how far it's gonna come out. You just get so. I was like, I'm gonna go to the line. Going for a swim. See you guys on the other side.
Welcome back to the JYB Show. I'm your host, Jack Youngblood, and my special guest, CousinFloyd.
Yo.
So, question is, how would you energize a crowd?
How would I energize a crowd? Typically, it's like if, you know, I mean, it doesn't happen too often, but it's like if people like know like the lyrics to a song, I usually try and like, you know, hype them up and like, you know, give them the mic and stuff to get them to sing along and all that. But like, if it's like I don't even know, like if it's a crowd that I've never been in front of, like I usually would try and do something like really just interact with them, you know what I mean, kind of like just be myself, you know what I mean. I don't try and be something else when I'm on stage, but it's like when I start performing my songs I get kind of lost and I sort of turn into something else, I guess. I don't know, I just lose myself and I don't know what's going on. I'm just doing the song and the song's kind of controlling me in a way. But like when I'm like energizing a crowd and stuff like that, like for example, like when I perform the song like You Suck, you know what I mean, like I'll usually try to get people to sing like the You Suck part with me even if they haven't heard the song before, and like I'll usually like dedicate that song to like all their exes you know, just because it's like it's just one of those songs. And yeah go check it out, it's called You Suck. It's on my album Lair Enough. But yeah, I usually try and like hype people up with stuff like that, you know, and just kind of like include everybody and make everybody a part of the show instead of them just watching me. I want everybody to be watching themselves too, you know, and like everybody having a good time and feel included. So yeah.
You have an album, Lair Enough. Mm-hmm. That's your first CousinFloyd album?
Yeah, it would be like my first like full length like album, you know, like because I had like an EP come out before called Monster in My Head. That was just like the early stage of like CousinFloyd kind of thing. But like the very first album that I ever did as CousinFloyd was the Perks EP, but I never released it. And then I just dropped that one. That was my most recent release. And like next from like Coma and Supernova, but like album wise, that was my most recent release. And yeah, like, you know, Lair Enough was like my first like full length, and it was just that was just a fun album to do. It was really cool. It was a cool process.
What is one of the songs from it is your favorite?
Oh man, like I would say like one of my favorite songs from that album would be it's called Violent, you know, but it's like Violet, but it has like N in a bracket. That one's one of my favorite ones, just because it's just such a different direction, you know, and it just has like its own little like chill, like sort of bluesy vibe, and I really love that like rhythm and blues kind of, you know, jazzy sort of, not like jazzy with like horns and stuff, but just has that like just the chords and the guitar, and it just kind of speaks to you, you know. Yeah, like that one's one of my favorite ones actually. It's really like a non like popular song on the album kind of thing, like when you look at the numbers and stuff, but numbers really don't matter to me. So
baby, our love was so violent, couldn't put my finger on the things that all went wrong.
What is the first concert you've been to?
Man, the very first concert that I ever went to, holy crap, I think it would have been like a Warped Tour. Yeah, I think it was like a Warped Tour when I was in high school. And then like the first like actual like concert that I went to would have been like a local show actually. It was a band called Straight Reads the Line. My buddy Josh Bruner brought me out to them when we were in high school, and it was like we came down here to Barrie actually, and we saw them play with Shotgun Rules, and it was just such a wicked like show, and I was just like was hooked immediately. You know what I mean? And I was already like playing like in like a band in high school and stuff like that. But that was like my first like, you know, got in a car and drove to go see like a show kind of thing. And like we're like Warped Tour was like an accumulation of like bands playing and stuff. Where like this was like you went inside in a venue and there was just like you in a room with a bunch of people. Where, you know, Warped Tour was like you walking around a field and stuff. So it was a bit of a different experience, I guess. So like, you know, you could call Warped Tour like my first show, but I mean like, I think like the Straight Reads the Line one would be like my real like first like show like in a venue experience. So like that one was really cool. Yeah, it was at this place called the Baja back in the day. Yeah, it was crazy.
Speaking of Warped Tour, how many times you been?
Oh God, since like 2006. Yeah, give or take. Yeah, that's like it's honest. I can't really remember all the years, but yeah, Warped Tour was just fun, man. Like you just got to go see like just a bunch of different bands and just bands that you might have not ever heard of. You know what I mean? And just meet people that you've never met before and make everlasting friendships and stuff. You know, like I met my buddy Craig at we were standing in the crowd watching Every Time I Die, and then him and I just jived. And he was a vocalist of this band called Bring Me the Author, and they're really fucking cool. They're a really, really rad band. And yeah, I remember like meeting him in that crowd, and like we've been friends ever since. And, you know, when I was in Sons of Sirens, we played a lot of shows and stuff together too. So yeah, it was just cool to have things like that happen. You know what I mean? And just kind of see like that just happen from going to a show. You know, like meeting somebody, and then you kind of have like stories to tell later on. You know.
Yeah, I've been to Warped Tour a couple times. The last show I went to was Toronto. Their last show ever in 2018, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can't even remember when the last one was. I didn't actually go to the last few ones just because it was just so weird. You know,
then,
like not in a bad way. It was just
Before that, they took few years off from coming to Canada.
Yeah, it was weird. You know, and that's kind of what threw me off. You know.
So speaking of music and everything, what was the first song you ever written?
The first song I ever wrote. Holy crap. It's not even possible to find anymore because it was on MySpace and it's like gone because MySpace deleted all the stuff. I honestly can't even remember the name of it, to be honest with you. Like I'd have to go onto like the MySpace to see it, you know. But it was probably terrible. Yeah, I won't lie, it was probably awful.
So you played in Sons of Sirens.
Yep.
Since, how long were you playing in the band?
I played in that band for probably like 7-8 years, I think. And then it was pretty much right until like the band broke up and stuff. It was like right around when I had my daughter, so yeah.
So next question, speaking that you're a father, what's the best advice you can give someone that is becoming a father for first time?
Be there. Like even if you can't be there, you know, like it's a touchy subject for me, to be honest, but just I don't know, it's just yeah, it's a very touchy subject for me, but like I just think that like if you're gonna be a parent, you know, whether you like whether the mother and father are together, you know, you should be there as much as you can, you know. If the parents are together, fantastic. If the parents aren't together, then, you know, do everything you can to be in that kid's life, you know. Yeah. And like do it in a positive way, don't do it in a negative way, because I think like if you do it in a negative way, it just attracts negative energy to the whole situation, and you know, you end up getting sucked into bullshit scenarios and bullshit arguments that you don't need to have, where you can just be like co-parenting and, you know, you know, kind of just doing it together and cooperating, you know. But like I think just with like myself, with like like my stepdad, like my he was like my father, you know what I mean? He's my father, you know. He was there, he raised me, you know, and he didn't have to be, you know what I mean? Like he didn't have to be there, but he was, you know, where my father wasn't really there, and I never knew why. And that just kind of is what it is. But for me, it was like I made a promise to myself that it's like I would never let my kid feel like that, you know. And like, and it's really important to me because it's you know, I don't ever want to have my child feel the way that I felt growing up, you know. So yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, it's a touchy subject for me, but yeah, anyway. No, you're good, man. But that's all a part of like mental health and shit, you know. So yeah, that's that thing.
Speaking of mental health, I talked about mental health in the CousinFloyd's interview. What is your strategy for mental health?
What exactly? Like, what exactly do you mean when you say that? Like,
to deal with your mental health, to like make sure it's in.
man, for me, it's like I would say like it's a bit of a weird process because like before it used to be just like numb the pain and just forget about it. But like now it's like I don't know. Now I think you could say it's a bit different because it's like now it's like, for example, like I was saying, like with the writing process, like all, you know, it's depressing. It's, you know, you go through shit, but it's like I think like when you get in that like, you know, sort of depressive mental state, you know, or whether it be like, you know, you're thinking about like your body type, or you're thinking about like, you know, the way you know, the way that your hair looks, or the way that your face looks, or there's things you want to change about this and things you want to change about that. And you know, like I think that like, you know, the idea is that we all get stuck in our head thinking about that, and that's where like that whole mental health thing really stems from, you know, because it's like, it's not saying it's all in our mind, but at the end of the day, like, you know, when we're sitting there alone in our thoughts, like it is all in our mind because we're not talking about it, it's all in here, you know what I mean? You know, so like I think like when we get into that sort of state, it's just a matter of like finding I guess an outlet, you know, that allows you to be honest with yourself, and whether it be a poetic way or a therapeutic way, like with a therapist, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, and like I guess you could call like, you know, anything therapeutic realistically. It's like, you know, I could sit down and play acoustic guitar and get lost in that, and that's like a level of therapy for me. But like, you know, when I sit down and actually like think about, you know, how I'm feeling and the way I'm feeling and why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and shit, like I find myself not wanting to really, you know, talk about it, you know what I mean? So I bottle it up, you know. And like I think that when I bottle it up, it like I bottle that all that energy up, and I like, you know, I put it in this, you know, big glass bottle, and then it starts to crack, and then it just explodes, and then I have like a fucking freak out where I'll like smash like my hand off a wall or something, just, you know, and just like an angered like little spell, I don't even know, you know. And like and it just happens because it's like you don't talk about how you're feeling, you know. And like I found that like the more that I talk about how I'm feeling, that stuff doesn't like really happen, you know what I mean? And it's like, and in any case, like sitting down and writing a song about like how you're feeling, or about something that pissed you off before, and it's like it's kind of a way of talking about it, you know. And you know, and it can be anything. It can be like you're writing a pissed off song about like your ex, or you're writing a pissed off song about like one of your friends that you used to have in your life, or, you know, or you're writing a song about like just being sad and not wanting to be here anymore and shit, you know. Like we all go through some crazy things in life, whether it be from family, friends, you know, God fear the worst, you know. And you know, just anything like that, man. Like it's just I think like the strategies are just about finding an exit, you know, and it doesn't have to be the worst case scenario all the time, you know. Like a lot of people think the easy way out is the first solution and the only solution, but realistically it's like I used to think like that too until I started writing songs and like singing how I was feeling. And then when I had other people tell me like they connected with those songs and they understood, and like some like you yourself, you reached out to me one time and told me that like one of the songs like helped you, and like it was like saving your ass, and and I was like, holy crap, and like that meant a lot to me, because it was like I didn't think anybody would ever really like be able to understand what I was saying in the songs, because I thought I was just writing out how I felt, you know what I mean? So like to have somebody else be like, yo, yeah, it's like, it's kind of neat, and it just sort of, and that's kind of why I write the shit that I write and the songs that I write. People are always like, oh, why don't you write like a hard song and shit? And it's like, I'd love to. It's just, I'm not a rapper, and like I don't really know how to like execute something like that. But it's like, for me, it's more like I'm a singer, and like I want to be honest with like how I'm feeling, and I want to like talk about like, I want to talk about things honestly, and and not really sugarcoat it.
Yeah, it's a statement that we need to
Yeah, completely.
smash.
Yeah, completely, man. Like it's not a joke, as much as people like to think that it is and stuff. And sometimes people use shit over your head and whatnot, and it's I don't know. It's a very sensitive situation that's needing to be resolved, has been resolved, and then forgotten about, and and people bring it up in a really weird way, and yeah.
So if you're dealing with mental health and like you need someone to talk to, reach out to Floyd.
Oh yeah,
Floyd's always here. I'm always here. You can
absolutely
reach out to one of us, or even your family. Friends.
Oh yeah, like anybody really, like. Like if you have anybody that's that you call a friend, like reach out, and if they don't respond to you, then know that there is people who will, and like that's the thing, is that some people just need to get out of this mindset of thinking that there is no one,
Wait, is that on? Is that on?
Yeah, I'm taping your junk right now.
Oh, pink junk.
It's on.
We're on.
It's on.
This is CousinFloyd's music video for Coma. We're a bunch of bad habits, and I'm too drunk to give a fuck. Come watch what we're doing.
You say I'm a bad habit, I'm a bad habit. Baby, when you're mad at me, you're addicted, gonna have it. Used to call it magic, now it's all some drugged out poetry. Coma therapy, coma therapy, yeah. Coma therapy, coma therapy, yeah. I hate that I raised you upon that pedestal. Life on a bike is a race I just pedal for. She says I read too much into things, can't get out of my head, it's so sickening. But I feel like she's up for less. I'm just a lucky one who stands at second best. You're still pretty when you walk out, you sound all petty when you talk loud. We don't fight, you just break me down. We don't love and I hate that sound of the bees and the birds, drunken poetic slurs. Every boy you kiss, you'd say those three pathetic words. I've grown so tired, I'm lost in the noise. There's lust in your eyes instead of calling your choice. You say I'm a bad habit, I'm a bad habit. Baby, when you're mad at me, you're addicted, gonna have it. Used to call it magic, now it's all some drugged out poetry. Coma therapy, coma therapy, yeah. Coma therapy, coma therapy, yeah. I wish that I could just find someone who's worth it. I've lost hope in my romance and believing it's perfect. I plan ahead, so I tattooed my eyelids as I
welcome back. You just saw the video for CousinFloyd's Coma song.
That was a fun video.
That was amazing video.
It was a fun
night.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Next question is, do you have any advice for anyone that is starting out as a musician?
Just don't give up. Just keep going. If people like make fun of you because you're like messing up, like practicing guitar, just fuck them. Just keep going. Just keep playing. You know, if you're writing songs and they're not the best songs in the world in the beginning, it doesn't mean that the ones you write after aren't going to be better. You know what I mean? So I think it's just a matter of like perseverance and remaining diligent with yourself, you know? Yeah, I would say just don't stop. Just keep doing it. Don't ever quit.
Alright, keep on chasing your dreams.
Yeah, literally, exactly. That's pretty much the whole premise of anything, you know?
You are a photographer also, and you have a company called Safe Camp.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start photography, and also when did you start Safe Camp?
So I started doing photography like you know, like in high school. You know, there's a class that we got to take, so I started kind of doing stuff there, and you know, had like a little digital camera and stuff that I was messing around with, and shooting like little like short story things. It was pretty fun. And then you know, a lot of like stuff from that point forward was just about like having an eye for seeing things through the lens, you know. And when I was in Sons of Sirens, I did a lot of like tour vlog stuff, like just on like my iPad, just like filming shit, you know, and putting it together on like iMovie, you know, on the app that you get with the iPad and stuff. And you know, it was just kind of like going from there and just kind of progressing on those types of things. But with like, you know, Safe Camp really like started when I was in college, because it was like, but Safe Camp's it's a thing from Circa Survive. It's just like it's the symbol right here on my face. It's like for like family safety and like security, and like the Safe Camp, like the idea that like it's a safe camp like wherever you are with those people and stuff. And like, you know, and like that's kind of just what I want my work to be, is just like a good environment and a safe place for everybody to be and everybody to hang out and enjoying themselves and stuff. So, you know, it's yeah, with the photography thing, it just kind of it's just how I see things, and it's just everybody has their own eye and their own vision, you know, and I respect everybody's vision entirely. It's just, you know, for myself, it's just you know, you see things a certain way, you know, and that's just how it goes.
And you have another full-time job as a piercer. Yeah. When did you get into piercing?
I got into piercing like just a bit before like my daughter was born, but I got into it even like before that, when I was getting like tattooed. I always had like an interest in it, like in like Muskoka and Bracebridge at a place called the Silver Daisy. And then I with like I was working at a place called Unique Inc, and they gave me an opportunity to like start being like a piercer and learn from one of the best piercers in the industry. And like, you know, and yeah, like I basically like I owe that all to like Chris Scaglione. Like he's like he'll always be like my boss kind of thing, you know, but he's always going to be like one of my best friends and brothers. And like, and he introduced me to Brock, and Brock's like one of my best friends, you know what I mean? Like, take a bullet for that guy. He taught me everything that I know with like piercing, and like it's changed my life completely, man. Like, you know, it's a really, really cool like experience to be able to like meet new people and do like the job that I get to do. And you know, and I owe all my thanks to those guys for that. So yeah, it was really rad.
What is the weirdest piercing you ever did?
Probably the obvious.
Do you see yourself as a spiritual person?
Yeah, like in a more of like a universal kind of way, you know what I mean? I think the universe works in a very mysterious way. I'm not so much for like the religion or anything, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm wearing a friggin' Satan is here shirt, you know, but like, but yeah, no, I'm not, I don't know, I've never really gotten too much into like the, into that sort of stuff. But I have a respect for it, and, you know, believing that there is some sort of like higher, like not like power, but like it's like a force out there, you know. It's like Star Wars, you know. There's like, you can tell when there's a disturbance in the force, you know. And yeah, with most things that kind of go on, like I don't know. I think that there's karma is a real thing, and I think just, putting good energy out there and manifesting good things makes, good things happen, you know what I mean? And I think if you invite negativity, then you get negativity. And if you express and exude positivity, then I think that you're really going to see like a positive, reaction in the end. And whether it be in your job or your passion or, painting a fucking picture or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, hobbies to your career, you know what I mean? Like anything, hell, whether it just be sitting down on your ass playing a video game, you know what I mean? Like, it's as long as you're like loving what you're doing, that's that's pretty much it with that.
Alright, so my final question, I have this for you quick final question. You can answer, take a shot this whole thing or take a shot of it. The question is, you've been in few bands through your life. Rate from the best to worst.
So,
rate the bands from the best to worst that you've been in.
Oh God, I don't even know if I could do that. So I'd have to take the shot.
Yeah, take a shot if you don't want to answer.
I don't even. It's not even that I don't want to answer. It's like I just don't think that I can, because like every single band that I've been in, like everybody was so talented at what they did. You know what I mean? And it was just a matter of, life. Like it's like not so much about like the bands being crappy or anything. I think like anybody can say this though. Like when you're in high school and all the bands that you played in high school, they were like the beginning days of like, and you look back on it now and you're like, oh, this is terrible. It's freaking garbage. Like we were awful. But it's like you also look at like back then, like you were really good at what you were doing back then. You know what I mean? And like you just got better. And like that's just kind of it. And that I'm not trying to like not answer that in a way, but I mean that's like for me, I'm more just like, nah, dude, like you could totally make this happen. Like you could totally make this a thing. Like you could totally just you could totally be better, and like, it's if you believe in it, just be better. It goes back to that thing about like, not giving up on your dreams and stuff and following forward with music. It's like for me, I never stopped. I was always playing drums, I was always playing guitar, and I'm still doing it. You know what I'm saying? So like, and it's, I think just with any of those things, like right now, it's like my favorite band is North Park. You know what I mean? Like North Park's the best thing. Like I'm so in love with that project right now, and North Park. But it's just it's just, I don't know, man. I don't think you could ever really rate something like that, because it's like for me, I always have a respect and an appreciation for the people that I played with, because without them I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't have the same passion that I had without playing in those bands with those people, so so if anything with that, I will say, what, without having to rate them, I'll say here's to all those bands. All right, so that's just it. Okay.
So going to shout Weirdos, shout Monster, thank you, CousinFloyd. You want to shout anyone?
Shout out LonelyBoyz, shout out Deathbed, shout out Sleep Terror, shout out Finesse, Finesse Banks, Finesse Productions, Derek Scott, Christine Cologne. I love you all. I would say like, the Scott brothers, my man Mac Johnson, my man Dan Ree. Oh, dude, I could list off everybody, like the whole crew, man, like just every single person out there, like just there's, I don't know, like I could list you all off and you all know who you are. I love you all to death, and I can't thank you enough. If anything, if there's anybody that I could hugely shout out though, it would 100% be my daughter. I love you so much. You're the light of my life. My daughter Cedar is the best, and my amazing and beautiful girlfriend Tallulah. Macadamia, I love you so much. Yeah, they're the best. They give me so much fuel to my fire, man. They're the kerosene to everything I do.
You guys are the best. Go check out CousinFloyd on everything.
Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. Hit me up. Go follow me. Got some crazy merch shit coming out soon. So we'll be rocking and rolling. Stay tuned.
Thank you for joining me. And like always, you're one of a kind. Smile more. And I will stay positive. Peace.
Peace, bro. Peace out.